No veteran should be without a place to call home. Being homeless, or at risk for homelessness, is one of the most difficult things anyone can face. But while the circumstances leading to homelessness may vary, support is always available. This is the 5th episode of Make the Connection: Real Veterans, Real Stories. In each installment, we'll explore different topics related to veterans' personal experiences with mental health challenges and how they found support. Today, we'll hear the powerful story of one veteran who sought help and was able to get off the street, back into housing, and on a more stable path. Since its launch in 2011, Make the Connection has interviewed over 600 veterans from all service eras and military branches. They got help and their lives got better. So can yours.
My name is Ryan. I was in the Army for 12 years.
Ryan is a U.S. Army and National Guard veteran who served 4 different combat tours. During one of his deployments, his truck was hit by a super bomb, or explosively formed penetrator, known as an EFP.
You should be dead right now.
That's what a medic in Iraq said while showing Ryan his ballistic vest, tracing where a piece of shrapnel had pierced his collar, traveled through the Kevlar around the collar, and then exited out the back. While he received some substantial injuries from the blast, it was the loss of his close friend that had the most significant impact on him.
I said, I want to go see Brad. Where's Brad? My first sergeant just looked at me and shook his head. He's like, Brad's gone. He didn't make it. That's been one that I've struggled with a lot.
That moment, the loss of his friend, the apology he gave Brad's widow for not bringing her husband home safely, it all wore on Ryan. He tried to bury those feelings. He'd occasionally talk to guys from his unit or to a psychologist if the nightmares got too bad. He also found himself increasingly irritable, and his fuse became shorter and shorter. His relationship with his wife became strained.
I ended up having a lot of different arguments with my now ex-wife. But the one that really took the cake was we were discussing what to do with a tax return. That whole thing gradually just escalated into how much she hates me and how unhappy we both were in the relationship.
Later that night, he sat thinking about suicide. Instead, he called 911, and the operator talked him down. When 5 officers arrived at his house, 3 of them turned out to be veterans themselves. One of them was an older Marine.
He's like, I just lost one of my guys to suicide 2 weeks ago. He's like, I'm not about to sit here and let you go out this way.
Ryan then spent 10 days in a VA hospital. He left feeling better, but he didn't want to return home after what had happened with his wife. He decided to move out and survive on his own.
So I ended up being homeless for 6 months.
During that time that Ryan experienced homelessness, he foraged for food, including diving in dumpsters behind restaurants. In this moment, changing his circumstances seemed impossible, but a simple act of kindness would change everything. He was in the midst of relocating his camp one day, walking down the road in his old Army fatigues and carrying a military assault pack, when a stranger pulled over.
He said, are you a veteran? I said, yes, sir, I am. He's like, when was the last time you had a shower and a meal? Over time, I ended up working with him. He did landscaping and fix-it stuff, which was a good experience for me because I had never laid hardwood floors before until I worked with Russ. I was learning some skills. I was learning some skills that I could actually use on the outside.
Their friendship became a launching point. With this newfound stability, Ryan started to find the help he needed to manage his PTSD, including a 30-day inpatient program through the Army Wounded Warriors program in Pueblo, Colorado. The programs were tough, but they began to help.
It was an inpatient PTSD and TBI program. That was where I was introduced to a lot of different therapies. It was a 30-day program. I was introduced to cognitive processing therapy. I was introduced to prolonged exposure therapy. I was introduced to yoga. Prolonged exposure is essentially, that's the therapeutic term for facing your fears. Why do you have traumatic brain injury or why do you have PTSD? Well, I have PTSD because of this. Okay, well, we're going to put you in a similar situation, and you're going to come face to face with this. And over time, you're going to be able to get closer and closer. I had never experienced being blown up by a truck sitting on the side of the road. But I had been programmed that trucks sitting on the side of the road that were even mostly or partially covered up were not a good thing, and to stay away from them. So we were doing a prolonged exposure experience in Pueblo, and I walked up, and there was a pickup that was mostly covered up by a tarp. She said, "What's your stress level right now?" They based it real easy, 1 to 5. 5 was you're about to essentially have a panic attack. 1 was I'm stressed, but I could walk up to the truck if I wanted to. I told her I'm like 4.5 right now. She's like, "Then let's stay right here." And you stay in that stress, and you stay without increasing that stress, without decreasing that stress. You stay in that stress. Over time, by the time I had left the program, I was helping other guys walk up to that same truck. And I was walking up to that truck, putting my hand on it. I don't know what it is about staying in the stress and facing your fears that makes it work. I'm not a psychologist, I don't pretend to be, but I can tell you it worked. Cognitive processing therapy is a completely different attack. With cognitive processing therapy, you're targeting one incident. We had homework assignments. We met both one-on-one with a therapist and in a group setting. The groups weren't big, and they were all other guys who had been through all kinds of hell. But we were given a notebook and said, write down the experience, write down the incident that's affecting you the most. All the stuff that we would try and avoid instead of making you face a basic fear, you're facing the reality. You have to dig in. We ended up rewriting our stories, I want to say it was like 6 times. Each time, new sounds got remembered, and it forced you to bring everything back forward.
After completing the inpatient program, Ryan now had the tools to better manage the symptoms of his PTSD, but he was still searching for a greater purpose. Eventually, he would discover that new passion, and with it, a path forward. While talking with friends, Ryan learned about a therapeutic massage school where he could enroll and earn his certification.
In doing the intake process, the director of the school sat down with me and she said, "I want you to understand and know going into this, going to school here is going to change your life." She's like, "And I'm not just saying that to you because you're a veteran, I'm saying that to you because it changes everybody's lives when they go through." I'm sitting there thinking, okay, how much can massage therapy school really change somebody's life? A lot. 1 year's worth of school changed a lot. One of the things that, because she was trying to get to understand the younger veteran mentality while I was there, and so we would talk frequently, and one of the analogies I gave to her, and this is something that I've been able to hold on to for myself, was especially infantrymen, we're kind of like the working class of dog. If you don't give us a job and expect us to raise ourselves, we are going to tear your house apart. But if you give us a job, if you give us a mission, we will do it with absolute everything we've got. And we will do it with pride and with as much loyalty as we can muster up.
Ryan did just that. He used the post-9/11 GI Bill and graduated from massage therapy school with a 3.7 GPA. He fell in love with the field. Ryan continued on to get another degree from Eastern Michigan University in sport performance and fitness entrepreneurship. He wants to one day own a wellness center and go into business for himself. The distance he feels from where he was and where he is now is tremendous.
You have to figure out what your next mission is. Nobody's there to give you that next mission. But there are all kinds of people, both at the VA and other veteran service organizations, that can help you figure out what your next goal should be, what your next mission is. Because without it, we are lost. We don't feel like we belong. You have to be okay asking for help. It's okay asking for help.
Homelessness is a complex and difficult challenge to face, but you don't have to go at it alone. There is a whole community of support ready to help with whatever you're going through. Veterans who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, as well as their family members and friends, can access a variety of resources and benefits through VA. Some veterans experiencing homelessness may be dealing with health conditions that need attention, such as physical injury, problems with alcohol and drugs, depression, and PTSD. The National Call Center for Homeless Veterans provides a hotline and online chat for free confidential assistance. Trained VA staff are on call and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to assist homeless veterans and their families at 1-877-4AID-VET, 877-424-3838.
Asking for help when we get out makes us feel weak, but it's not. We can't do it on our own. We're not intended to live life alone. We're not intended to accomplish on our own. It doesn't mean as much if we do accomplish without somebody to share it with, without a friend, a battle buddy to share it with. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Make the Connection, Real Veterans, Real Stories, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. In our next episode, we feature the story of a veteran who discovered the importance of community in the course of her recovery. Visit MakeTheConnection.net, an online resource designed to connect veterans, their family members and friends, and other supporters with information, resources, and solutions to issues affecting their lives.